Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, to really wherever our whims take us. J.J. Abrams and Son, Spider-Man issue 2. I am super sick and it probably sounds it. My voice is so deep, in my head at least. I'm Jessica Rabbit. I'm living the life. This comic makes me feel like I've dropped into a parallel universe, though not because of anything that's in it, but more because of the reactions surrounding it. If you've ever felt completely disconnected from the cultural zeitgeist, hit that like button. And now for the recap. Now, if you missed our review of part 1, firstly, how dare you? And of course, secondly, card and link. That's so you can get the full experience, not the cliff notes. But if you really have no time, then here's what happened. And of course, full spoiler warning ahead. After cover baiting readers with Peter and MJ boldly front and center, MJ dies on page 7. Dies in quotation marks. Killed by the mysterious villain Cadaverous, leaving behind Peter and her supposedly surprised, but not all if you've ever read any fanfic or even earlier Elseworld stories, child Ben Parker. Peter is so devastated he abandons his child with Aunt May. He goes off to be a big-time tragedy and wartime photographer with a hook for a hand. His son, Ben, grows up to have anger issues and a chip on his shoulder, but he beats up bullies, so no one's gonna address those issues because he's beating up the right people. He doesn't need anger management. He's fine. He meets an edgy cool teen girl named Faye, but really Faye Ito. It's just everybody says her last name first. At the end of this first issue, he learns that his father is Spider-Man. Dun dun dun. And as for the villain Cadaverous, well, he was super cryptic and he ate a hot dog. Issue 2, go! The cover is standard. Spidey fighting Cadaverous. Nothing to write home about, but at least I'm not concerned about MJ plunging to her death. We start off with Cadaverous being cryptic and vague, his favorite things. Incapable of waiting as corruption spreads. With no key, we are stuck. He's looking for the key. It's totally not a MacGuffin. It is a legitimate plot device. It's tantalizing. Be tantalized. He needs it to heal. That's how he says it, not me. I just want to be accurate. Ben's not taking the knowledge that his father was Spider-Man very well. At all. He says that he will never forgive him. Why do you keep defending him? All of this because of what he did. Mom died on that bridge because of him. Now, this isn't against Ben. That is perfectly acceptable child logic, especially after your mom is dead. However, for those of us who were there for the situation, Peter probably definitely feels that way because Peter blames himself for everything, whether they're actually his fault or not. It's part of his guilt complex. But real talk, there are 2 people who are actually responsible for MJ's death. Actually, scratch that, there's 3. One, of course, is Cadaverous himself. 2 is MJ for running onto the bridge mid-combat despite being married to Peter and Spider-Man for several years. And 3, you know who 3 is. Ben is at school pondering whether his mom knew his dad was Spider-Man, so I guess that talk he had with May was surface at best when he's accosted by Faye Ito. She is just full on the whole name trend. She yells his whole name, Ben Parker. She's super into how he beat up that bully, because he did it for the right reasons. And that's what Faye Ito is all about. She's so into it that she wants to hang out with him after school. I think maybe she should have yelled Gary Stu and not Ben Parker. Sorry, I live in the shade. It's cold here. Actually, really, she should have yelled Mary Sue, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other time. It's a real thing, and it happens, and it's not just female characters. Anybody can be a Mary Sue, all inclusive. There's actually a rich history to that word that has been co-opted and tweaked, but if you actually want to talk about it, let me know, because it's interesting and a valid word to use, and sometimes a good descriptor, though it can also be used as a misnomer. Depends how you're using it. Just like any word, people can use it wrong, but that doesn't mean it can't also be used right. Ben decides to burn his dad's spider suit, but he has instant regret when Faye turns up dressed up for their outing. She is wearing what is clearly an I'm up to no good getup, but Aunt May is just so happy that Ben is doing something aside from ripping her door off its hinges that she goes to get another Spider-Man suit that she had and give it to him. I'm starting to think that Aunt May knew that Peter was Spider-Man and just didn't care, as long as it got him out of the house. So Faye tells Ben that they've gotta dress up, and that she's dressed up as the Marker, which I read 3 times as the Maker, and then kept going, that's a terrible Maker costume, and then finally saw the R and was like, oh, that's all right then, because she would have needed a way bigger helmet. So where are they going? A phrase I can no longer say without wanting to clap after it. It's a Pavlovian response because of Dora the Explorer. Where are we going? Well, it's to Graffiti buildings about how they're not paying their workers' health insurance. She's so bad. But the word she chooses to spray paint on this particular building is predator, which is kind of confusing. It's not really on message with what she said it was, but it's okay. Enough about that. It's time for a twist on the Spider-Man ethos. I'm telling you, dude, you don't have great responsibility because you have great power. Your hero got it the other way around. It's up to us, because we all have a great responsibility. Each of us. We're only powerful because of it. These suits tell us anyone can be a hero. The marker, spray painting vaguely related graffiti onto buildings, a true hero. Other people are gonna have to clean that up, and it's not gonna be the people who you're complaining about. Just saying. They're just doing this out in the middle of the street, in the middle of the afternoon as it leads into evening, so shock, surprise, surprise, the police show up. And that's exactly what Faye wanted, because she's sticking it to the man with spray paint. That's why there was paint on her face. It's there all the time, because she's just doing so much graffiti. Faye's not here for any of this. She's a rebel, so she grabs Ben's hand and runs for it. But there are cops all over, but it's all right. This is Ben's chance to be cool. His Spidey suit is fully functional, so he uses it to web shoot his way away. And despite never having done it before, he is a natural. Perfect. 10 out of 10, even while carrying another person. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever gets to kick. The panel of them ascending is super fun. I love the spray cans going everywhere. Also, he just tells her that his dad is Spider-Man. That went from 0 to 100 real quickly. From I met you in detention yesterday to here is all my secrets. I mean, you don't know who she is. She could be a plant. She is bizarrely into hanging out with someone she just met in detention about a couple days ago. One, I believe, based on this time scale. Also, he looked like he wanted to eat her face, which also makes me question why she wants to hang out with him so badly. I know I know a lot. It's new to me too and weird. But I didn't mean to freak you out, but you okay? So ignore what they're saying for a minute and focus on what's behind them. The Remember the Great Departed sign in the back with Black Widow, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor on it. In their MCU forms, by the way, except Black Widow has longer hair. So they're dead, and this is supposed to be like an Easter egg, a secret kernel about the universe. Kernel is my word for these last few videos. But again, for me, this is like Peter's hook hand, meaning I have questions. So when did this happen? How recently? Because this sign looks new. Is it an anniversary? Does it have anything to do with Cadaverous or this universe? Is it going to factor in? I was gonna leave all the review stuff to the end, but I've seen reviews praising this panel specifically, going on about how only the Abrams would be brave enough to kill the Avengers. Okay, look, it's only a cool world building detail if it ends up mattering, and we don't know as readers whether it's going to matter yet. It could, but we're not sure. This is issue 2, so this praise is early. I hear you. Why are you such a jelly hater? Why you got so much hate in your heart? It's not that. I just want this book to be judged like other books. And if you go through, it doesn't feel like it's being so. Just saying. Don't hurt me. Anyway, all of this got filmed. So Peter sees it on his war-torn photography travel session of guilt, and so does Cadaverous. I knew it would come back eventually. My children to heal, to unlock, bring us the key. So Faye convinces Ben that he should be Spider-Man. And thankfully, there's a catastrophe, an explosion at Oscorp, so he swings into action. Been waiting way too long to say that. Also, Faye says, this is who we are. Faye, step off. You do graffiti and he's about to go save some people. Stop trying to live vicariously through Ben. Not the same thing. The marker and Spider-Man are not on the same level. Faye is using Ben to up her own self-esteem. This can only end badly. Run, Ben, run! I mean, what a wonderful supportive friend. He's so lucky to have someone who's there to help him with his crime-fighting career this early on. Yes, I'm a bitter cynic, and yes, there are always multiple ways to read things. That was an example of 2. Ben shows up on the scene and performs his first rescue and then proceeds to forget how human beings talk. Hello, fellow citizen. Just gonna casually and heroically lift this rubble for you, cause that's who I am. And the guy who he's saving only encourages him. Spider-Man? Not sure, actually. Oh, that's confusing. You lifted rubble heroically. In what world? Let's try this again, shall we? Spider-Man? Where am I? What happened? Oh God, there is so much smoke. Where are Jim and Karen? Are they okay? You have to go back for them? Ben then starts talking about how his costume means that anybody can be a hero. Henry Abrams gave an interview long before this was published, well not that long, a couple of months. We did a video on it briefly, but one of the important snippets was that he said that Spider-Man was a character who the more you read him, the less you understood him. And that sentiment seems to be running throughout this. There seems to be a genuine confusion as to why you would want to be Spider-Man and what that means. And not as in that's a question Ben is asking, but as in that's just a general question. This scene of this man who's just been rescued after potentially dying in this rubble just feels very disconnected. It's supposed to be Ben's big heroic entrance, but it feels far more focused on being relatable with meme speak that's hip with kids. He's awkward, and that makes him relatable. As someone who actually is awkward, it's not relatable at all. It's just, well, you just gotta live with it, really. I embrace my awkwardness, but I don't think the people I would be saving would be, except I wouldn't be, because I am going to be the puzzler. Cadaverous' goons attack, information that will probably be relevant in a later issue. Like, was it a trap? How are they tied to Oscorp? Were there hot dogs there? You don't seem very good at this. I'm trying my best. Try harder, please. There's still time to put him back, Ben. No one would know. Ben pulls a fixture down, which shouldn't stop any of these Cadaverous bots, but does, or at least he assumes it does, because he drops the guy off. And the meta dialogue doesn't stop, can't stop, won't stop, never stopping. My friend always said, you're probably just some deadbeat loser now, with like a beard or something missing, a missing arm or leg or some lame kid. Wow, your friend sounds mean. Also, ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Humor. Classic Spider-Man, swinging away into the distance. Who talks like this? I'm gonna chalk all of this up to his head injury. Also, hold on, 1 minute, record scratch, rewind this. There's only one guy in the rubble of this Oscorp building. One guy. Cause Ben is gone. He clocked out. He's riding the bus home. Unless maybe this is a plot point, like there's only one guy because he's a cadaverous plant. Other than that, there's no way there's just one person. He was alone working the only shift in this whole building. And there's no way those robots aren't still ravaging. They apparently killed all of these people on this bridge and then one thing fell on them and it's all over. You can't make me buy this whole triumphant first night out comic. You just can't. This was a disaster. I expect the headline the next day in the Bugle to be something like, Menace Spider-Man returns, hundreds dead, Spider-Man saves one guy, but that'll be like a footnote at the end. It's time to play the every episode favorite, Name That Abrams twist. Let's go with a theory to get us primed. All of this was set up by Cadaverous. This whole instant was staged to draw out Ben Parker, aka the Key. Probably some way Faye is involved. Maybe she's just pretending to be his friend to get close to him, or she's a clone who doesn't even realize that she's being used. Theory over. When he gets home, Peter is there to say, "Hi, Spider-Man." Why did I say it like that? This comic was fine. It was fun. It had some high points, but it also had a lot of flaws. And it never really ascends to being above average for a comic, especially one that's supposed to be a prestige million copy seller event. It's not pushing the medium or storytelling or Spider-Man storytelling. It's definitely not revolutionary, which is a word I've heard bandied about. Or brave. It's really not brave to be telling a next generation kid fic AU. People do that every day. Someone is writing one right now. It's also been done within Spider-Man's own canon more than once. I remember the MC2. You can't take that away from me. That was a thing that happened. Just because the events were slightly different, still happened. Spider-Man's kid becoming Spider-Man. It was a thing. True facts. If you've been in fandom at all, you've read this story more than once, and potentially better. It's not original is what I'm saying. But okay, is it enjoyable? That's the true question. Tons of things are really derivative. Mileage varies. I think it's fun, despite all the stuff that I said. I know some of you are like, what? Backtrack that. But it's true. It's just my problem comes more from how much it's being praised, as if it has no flaws at all. It's like being in a Twilight Zone episode, but one of those really mellow ones where you wake up and all of a sudden your spouse has different hair and you're working a slightly different job and everybody still cares about you and loves you, so when you start freaking out, you're the one who comes across badly, and then you just have to decide that I guess I live here now because there's no point causing a fuss. That's how I feel looking at reviews of this comic. I stepped into a pretty much the same parallel universe. Some of the way this comic is being reviewed is because of who wrote it, and also because of the larger reasons why it exists. Let's just say if this comic were a chess piece, it would be a pawn. And here's the biggest thing, it's not even necessarily a bad thing, it's just something that needs to be acknowledged. This feels like an early comic attempt. Some of the dialogue is choppy, more designed to be said with a sassy delivery than read. Some of the witticism falls flat when you read it like this rather than hearing it. The pacing is also a bit rushed, even compared to the first issue. And there are many contrivances or things that just happen that don't really need to, like Ben burning his costume dramatically, but then Faye showing up and Aunt May having another costume to just give to him. With great power comes the ability to impress girls that you have a crush on. So reading it, you can tell it's not as tight as some other comics. I feel like I can't use the word tight anymore. It has too many meanings now. Tight. The thing with this comic is it's good at generating a feeling. Resentment over Peter and his abandonment. The desire to be something, to do something, to be a hero. This book wants to convey sentiments, and it does. Mileage will vary on how deep that penetrates. I like I've given up Peter, and Ben's anger rings as genuine. I want to see more interactions between these two, and I will in issue 3. I'm glad I read it, and it is different from what's out there currently at Marvel, but that's just simply by virtue of being an alternate universe mini. What do you think of it? Do you find it to be a really original revolutionary work? Or do you find it to be kind of derivative? Do you have cadaverous theories? Share down below. I'm Sasha, and thanks so much for watching and listening to my sick person voice. I'm always thrilled when you give some of your time to Casually Comics. Please do all of the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.